The Matanuska Valley is particularly important for my people because it's Tsiatona, which means trail comes out river. So that's the connector between the Copper River and the Cook Inlet, which were both encompassed in our traditional territory. Oftentimes, the history that is told in public schools or in history books doesn't reflect the identity that many tribal people have and the history that we understand. And so in my field of work, I get to help better flesh out that understanding of history and share it. And also to be able to tell some hard truths about what our history was. With Chicxulub Village Traditional Council, I'm able to partner with scientific leaders, doctors, and education professionals to marry the traditional knowledge that we have and possess and are able to glean from our elders to the cutting edge science to really propel what is known of place and people here. So our summer field work is comprised of compliance, it's comprised of a lot of hiking, and this summer in particular, we were able to investigate 2 separate sites. One is known as Na Kayax or Stone Woman, known by non-native people as Lion's Head. And the other one was my great-grandmother's house and my great-great-grandparents' cabin, which was next to my great-grandmother's house. Na Kayax is a traditional meeting trading spot, so it was a place that all the clans really respected, and it was a place that all the clans have a kind of different faceted same story about. So she's in everybody's traditional stories. Her traditional story has to do with not sitting in your grief, and she is a landmark for tribes very far away. It's one of my favorite parts of the job when I get to speak with an elder about a place, and then we get to travel to the place, and what the elder says is corroborated by actual place. He'd never really been there, but he could explain it like his elders were telling him. And when we got there, we were able to ground truth the things he had only heard at that point. And we found a trail around the base of Na Kayax that was made by moccasins. And I guess the double-edged sword is always, when you tell people about what's special to you, you make it vulnerable. And so that's always our risk and always our concern when we are speaking of a place that's important or sacred and doing work at a place that's important or sacred. It's easy to understand why we feel protective of it. My great-grandmother's cabin was built over 100 years ago. And that cabin was built during a time when the cultures kind of came together in this place. So there was an influx of coal miners to the Chicxulub area, and then there were my people. And so that cabin was really important because that is where my grandmother was born, but it also speaks of that strife and the relationship that she had with my great-grandfather that wasn't very healthy. So there's a lot of stuff that we can interpret with that house and a lot of history that we can process with our family to make our story richer and to also give us a deeper understanding into the traumas that our family experienced during that time.
You know, we know good things happen here, but also really horrific things that have happened that have impacted our family so profoundly. And So when I think back on it, I think about it in those two ways. And so it is healing, but it's also part of that trauma that we're continuously, I think, coming to terms with and figuring out, what that did and how to really transform that from this sadness into something that we can learn from and make sure that we do better for our children.
I think inspiration as human beings is what drives us forward into our future endeavors. Having a solid footing, knowing where you came from, how much strength is within your lineage.
I'm kind of in a state of disbelief that I would ever see the place where all of this happened, where I believe my mother was born. But to come here and see it was where our home was. I can go sit over there and look at and be there and wonder even more about things and how it was. And it is a state of wonderment that I'm here and hoping that I can come back again.
One of the most important parts about the work that I do is educating the general public to the fact that people have been here for thousands of years, and discussing the ways and the technologies that we use to live here, the strategies and stewardship ethics that we had to live here, and the values of reciprocity, of consent, of permission, and of sharing, really.
It's one thing to just not know, and just be oblivious to my culture, and if you're being disrespectful, sometimes it's on accident, sometimes it's not. And so it's kind of hard to rule out how people are meaning things, A lot of our job is helping people understand and not shaming people for not knowing things. Primarily, this job has definitely impacted me a lot in a lot of different ways. But I think number one, just finding myself and how I connect with that part of me.
I grew up with my mom, who is who I get my indigenous heritage from, and she definitely is a very proud, strong Dene woman. So I had always known growing up that I was Native and white because my dad's white. It has definitely grown my sense of identity and who I am as a person. I mean, I feel much more in tune with who I am, confident about who I am, and strong in the person I am and where I see myself going. And I think really it is reconnecting to my culture that I have to thank for that.
I think, it has to do with culture. We can teach our young people cultural things. They can go out and share it and be successful and have a better and deeper identity about who they are to be empowered by their story.